All right, let's bring in Kate Hennessy. She's the granddaughter of Dorothy Day and the author of the book, Dorothy Day, The World Will Be Saved by Beauty. Kate, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it. Your grandmother founded the Catholic Worker Periodical, which, as we know, evolved into a movement. Can you tell us more about her work?
Well, thank you, Tracy. I love talking about my grandmother, so it's always a delight for people to ask me about her. She was an extraordinary woman. I think many people now know that she is in the process of possibly being canonized. Her cause is at the Vatican right now. And I think how she speaks to us is a real sense of personal responsibility for enacting Catholic social teachings. And it began as a newspaper because she was a journalist. She came from a family of journalists. And to her, it was a clear need when she discovered the church's teachings on social justice. She felt it was really important to get that known. And that was in 1933, which is, of course, the height of the Great Depression. So when she started this newspaper, she had no idea. She had no idea that she was starting a movement. She had no idea that she would actually end up starting a series of houses of hospitality around the U.S. And this movement is now 91 years old, and there are houses everywhere. It's hard to keep track of how many houses, but there seems to be close to 200.
Yeah, and you had mentioned her possible canonization. I know she once said, "Don't trivialize me by trying to make me a saint." What do you think she meant about that? And what would you think about her being canonized?
All right. A very good question. I think the quote is, "Don't call me a saint. I don't want to be dismissed so easily." And people have been kind of chewing on that, wondering, what did she mean? And are we doing the right thing? But of course, she's not going to call herself a saint, but she had a great devotion to saints. It was the saints who brought her, I think, into the Catholic Church, and she always spoke about them. They're almost like family to her. So I think, for herself, saints are incredibly important. I think what her statement is, don't put me on a pedestal. Don't say, oh, I can't do this. Dorothy can do this, but I can't do this. She would have none of that. She says, we all have to be involved. We all have to do the work. And I think the canonization process, well, it's not for her, of course, it's for us. I mean, we need saints. Saints are an incredibly important part of faith and understanding the world.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is the illegal abortion that she had before her conversion to Catholicism. Do you know how that affected her?
Oh, it deeply affected her. This was, of course, a very dangerous procedure, and she suffered physically. In terms of emotionally, it was a profound effect. I mean, I really can't speak personally for her. She was very private in that way. But I know that she was, because of the physical effects of that abortion, she was scared that she would never be able to have a child. And so when my mother was born, it was such a miracle. And that's what led her to become Catholic, was that the miracle of that birth. In terms of as I say, she was very private. She never talked about it. But clearly it paved a direction for her for the rest of her life.
Absolutely, there is. And more than 40 years after her death, what do you think that Dorothy Day is teaching us today?
I think she's teaching us hope, that there's always something that we can do. I think she's teaching us to follow our conscience, to really understand what we say we believe and live by that. I think she is saying we always must have hope. And that was one of the things that she really wanted to make clear, is that we must have hope, we must have faith, we must pray, and we have to talk about it. We have to give, to speak of why we have hope, why we have faith.
McKay, before I let you go, I want to ask you a question about you. I know that you've written that you've been uncomfortable all your life being Dorothy Day's granddaughter, but you've made peace with it. If you don't mind, tell us why that made you feel uncomfortable.
She was an extraordinary woman. It's really hard to describe her presence in my life and in, my family's life. We all were affected by her strength of character. And what she did was extraordinary. Her work, her dedication, her persistence, her perseverance were outstanding, extraordinary. And I think, you always, as a child, I kind of, at first just accepted it. That was who she was. But as I grew older and began to understand what her work was, it seemed like it was so far beyond what I could accomplish. And I've had to kind of, as you say, make peace with, I am who I am. I'm not my grandmother. But of course, there are ways that she has deeply influenced me, and I have come to treasure those.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us about your grandmother, Dorothy Day. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Tracy.